Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the Indiana State Police Roadshow. I'm your host, Sergeant John PERRINE, the Indiana State Police Indianapolis District PIO. The Roadshow is brought to you each and every week by the Indiana State Police Alliance and Cops for Kids, a subsidiary of the State Police Alliance. For more information about our sponsor, you can visit them at www.indianasfinest.com. The man behind the camera, and we appreciate his efforts putting us on the Indiana State Police YouTube channel, is Mr. Tom Trial. Again, I always like to steer people toward our YouTube channel. So if you search Indiana State Police on YouTube, it will take you to our channel, and you will see incredible historic documentation, videos, everything you can imagine that the State Police has done. Tom has worked his tail off to get put on there, and we appreciate that so much. Sure do. And again, thank you for our partners at MS Communication who help us get on the radio waves each and every week across the state, and we appreciate everything that Network Indiana and all of them do for us to get us out there. Our guest today are a familiar face on my left here, as you can see, is a good friend, Mr. First Sergeant Ron GALAVIZ, the Assistant Chief PIO downtown from headquarters.
Good morning, Jonathan. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Love being here.
And I know that your first name is Dawn. My mind is slipping me, but I do want to do a proper introduction here. So, from the Lowell Laboratory, the Indiana State Police Lowell Lab manager.
Correct.
Is Dawn
Powers.
Dawn Powers. I'm so sorry. But welcome, Dawn, and thank you for driving all the way down to Indianapolis from the great district of Lowell.
Well, thank you for having me.
You know, I got my start at Lowell. I spent the first 2 years of my career patrolling Zone 1 up there. So I was there in 2003 and 2004. So
just seems like yesterday, doesn't it?
You know, it's incredible how quick it goes. All the old troopers always told you that, and here I am, one of the old troopers.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. How do you think that makes me feel? That's really old.
25-year guy. Yeah, 26 now, right?
Almost 7.
Wow, golly, seems like just 2 weeks ago we were doing your 25th.
I know, right?
So anyway, let's get to the show here. This is a really, really cool show because we get to tell you about one of our premier services at the Indiana State Police Officers, and that's our laboratory service, and then the forensic things that they can do.
Absolutely. You know, and a lot of people don't, you know, they associate the Indiana State Police with highway patrol. That's all we do is write tickets, work vehicle crashes, things associated with our interstate system, which is a huge component of what we do, but they don't realize that we have 4 regional laboratories and a slew of professional scientists that are some of the very best in their given disciplines anywhere in the country. I'd put our people up against anybody in this entire country.
And Dawn, I think it's become quite a popular profession for young kids as they've seen the evolution on TV of what forensic science does. I think probably not having a hard time getting applicants, I'm guessing.
No, we're not having a hard time at all.
And that's great.
They are flooding the field, so lots of interest, and that means that we get a lot of good candidates for positions. So
just walk us through really basic, what does the Indiana State Police Lab do? And I know that was a huge loaded question because there's so much, but just kind of in a nutshell, if you're trying to explain it to somebody.
Well, the laboratory division provides forensic science, forensic services, analytical services, and field support services for local and municipal and state agencies. And we provide the analytical services include biological analyses, drug chemistry analysis, documents, microanalysis, latent print examinations. We have polygraph. We have photography. We have our crime scene investigators. And we have a large evidence management system, which is the big part of my job as a laboratory manager. So
it's simply just full of great people who are behind the scenes. What some folks don't know is anytime you see a big case that was solved, an arrest was made or something like that, in some way, shape, or form, the lab was involved. Whether it be through examination of the evidence or processing of drug biology, things like that. So they play such a huge vital role in these cases, Ron. You know,
they really do. And for the, having come from the road side, it's such an invaluable service that you and the folks that work for you provide because, again, like John said, it's very, I don't want to say it's very difficult, but it really bolsters our cases when, a suspected narcotic is taken into custody, submitted through the chain of evidence, and it's verified at some point, using the techniques that you use, so that when we go to court for that particular case, we have that scientific backing saying this substance was, substance A, and this is a illegal substance here in the state of Indiana. So our prosecution rates are bolstered, as are our conviction rates. So it's tremendous. It's awesome.
And Dawn, how long have you worked in the lab? Yeah.
I've been in the lab for 23 years.
23 years. So that's kind of the answer I was hoping for, because I cannot imagine. I know the change that I've seen on the law enforcement side, but the changes that you guys have seen in forensic science, it's got to be, every month there's probably something new, but wow, how far have we come?
You're absolutely right.
The efforts that you guys probably one time had to put into something now is done by a computer in twice as fast of time. I mean, just things that have helped.
Absolutely. When I began my career with the state police in the laboratory, I was a DNA analyst. So I did DNA analysis for 22 years. And the vast changes that occurred in those 22 years is phenomenal.
And what's really cool about that, and I'm glad you bring that up, is 22 years ago, the technology wasn't there maybe to solve a case. But now, 22 years later, we can go pull out that old evidence and maybe solve that case. And we're seeing the results of that. And that's so cool.
Yes, we are.
I mean, just things that weren't available even a few years ago. Now we keep that evidence and we go back and those cases, and we're able to find things. Yep. So, I mean, I remember just recently seeing a big case out of Fort Wayne that was solved because of DNA that wasn't available at the time as now. And wow, what a cool process. So that's one of the things we talk about. And we talk about DNA specifically. Is I watch these TV shows, and it seems like they swab this person's cheek, they take that swab, they stick it in this machine, and within 15 seconds, somebody's picture pops up on the screen and says, here's your person, right? It just doesn't work like that.
No, it does not.
Yeah, and we wish it did. But it's a very long scientific process, I'm sure.
Yes, although the processes have been, as you alluded to earlier, that the processes have become quicker. It doesn't take as long. We don't need as large of a sample specifically for DNA to test anymore. So it's come a long way.
And Ron, what are some things that you've seen maybe on TV that are misnomers about what you know about the lab? Well, I think we talked about, or you alluded to, we're talking 45 minutes with commercials, a case is, or a crime is committed to the time that it's solved. And then not only do you have those individuals that are out at the crime scene processing that scene, gathering or identifying, documenting, and collecting that evidence, but then you see them conducting the interviews or the interrogations and then going through the entirety of the process, and then maybe they'll jump behind a microscope and then submit the evidence into their their iPhone's app or whatever, what have you, and they're involved in every intricate aspect of that case. But really, and maybe I'm incorrect, but you have specific disciplines that your folks they're experts in, and so you don't see them out in their white lab coat in the field with ISP on the back, with handcuffs, chasing a suspect down, tackling them, interviewing them. They are there doing exactly what it is that they're educated and trained to do and that they're experts in their field in.
That's correct.
Yeah, and it's a big team effort. And the other thing that people might think is, we call it the Indiana State Police Laboratory because the state police funds it, essentially, for lack of a better word. But they don't just do Indiana State Police cases, and they're open to law enforcement, probably not even just across the state, but across the nation. If people need help, I mean, we're there, right?
We would have to get authorization.
Sure. Well, of course, what I'm saying is you guys do a lot of work.
Yes,
a lot of work that people don't even realize, but it's not even just for troopers in the Indiana State Police. It's other agencies in the state of Indiana that we help out as well.
Yes.
Because we do, once you get outside these metropolitan areas like Lowell, Indy, Fort Wayne, and Evansville is the other laboratory, we're a very rural state, and we have a lot of small agencies that don't have the resources to properly, do the forensic analyses that they're required for some of the cases. So that's where these folks come into play. And, having come from Fort Wayne, and I'm sure you've been to the Indy lab, 100 times, you've been there once, you see just that constant in and out of some of these agencies from near and far. And that's when you really get the idea of how special and how valuable their services really are, not only to us, but to the entire law enforcement community and to the citizens of the state as a whole.
You know, and again, we rely so heavily on the work that our scientists can do, because sometimes an entire case will hinge on one thing that one person is doing. Mm-hmm. So I can't imagine the pressure that they feel when they're going through these, because mistake's not an option. And so they work so hard to be perfect. But I also can't imagine the feeling when they know that something they did has served justice, has solved something. Mm-hmm. So talk a little bit about what those scientists kind of go through emotionally, maybe when they find out, hey, something that I worked on was the key piece of evidence that maybe saved a life or put somebody in jail or solved a case.
As an analyst, we like to work behind the scenes. We don't like the notoriety and things of that nature. But when we get, there's some personal reward, personal great feelings that if you are able to solve a case, we don't always know whether or not we're the ones that are solving the case, but it's very rewarding, and from a personal standpoint that I helped to solve that case. Yeah.
And, you know, we're kind of seeing the opposite thing, too, is now we're talking about technology. I see people that have been in prison for a long time who are now being released because of new technology and finding out that they weren't the person that committed that crime 20 or 30 years ago. You know, again, that's kind of part of the scientific process of proof of crimes and things like that.
Yep. Absolutely. And kind of going back, and I don't want to jump to just a little bit different tangent, but, you know, you're talking about kind of wanting to be in the background, not wanting the notoriety. Well, you know, coming, you know, the week of September 20 through the 26th, you know, forensic scientists throughout the state of Indiana and even nationally are going to be recognized as part of Forensic Science Week. Governor Holcomb has last year, and what I would hope this year too, would issue a proclamation stating such. And it's recognition for the work that you all do, again, for the greater community, our citizens, and for the law enforcement community as a whole. So, you know, in advance, thank you for everything that you do. You know, we get citizens, kind citizens all the time thanking us, hey, thank you for everything that you do. But essentially, they're thanking you as well. So let me say that on their behalf, because, again, you serve, the things that you do, I couldn't even begin to comprehend. I don't have a scientific mind.
I'm the guy that puts it in the bag. I don't know what else happens to it after that.
Yep, and I fill in the blanks. So we actually now can type the evidence sheets, but no. So it's going to be a wonderful thing, and very well deserved. Very well deserved.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so I do want to talk a little bit about our Indiana State Police forensic scientists. Aren't necessarily the ones out on the scene. So I don't want to give people this misnomer that, you know, if we need DNA, that you're the one going out and collecting the DNA. That comes from the field. And our crime scene investigators, the ones that you see on the scene process, are sworn law enforcement. Now, there may be times where people from the lab can go out and help with different things like that, but our lab people essentially are in the lab in their day-to-day. Am I correct?
Correct.
And so if you have somebody who's interested in science and law enforcement and all these things that they say, what advice do you give to maybe a high school student or a middle school student who says, wow, I really want to do that. That's really cool.
I would recommend that they research, because we have so many different disciplines within our state police laboratory division that each of the disciplines requires a different background, a different bachelor's. It's required to have a bachelor's degree and focusing in the sciences, but each unit or each section is going to require just a little bit different classes that you're going to need. So if you're really interested in this as a career, then do the research and check out which classes you need. Make sure that you fulfill those classes while you're in an undergraduate degree or undergraduate classwork, so that you're covered there.
I would encourage everybody to start that research by visiting the Indiana State Police website, www.in.gov/ISP, and get a hold of an Indiana State Police recruiter. And that recruiter can get you in touch with somebody at the lab that could answer your questions. And that. So thank you very much for our guests, Don Powers, the Lowell Laboratory Regional Managers. Are you guys getting one of the new labs? I know there's some new labs being built.
It's on hold.
It's on hold. Well, eventually, hopefully.
Hopefully,
right?
yes.
All right, fingers crossed. And First Sergeant Ron GALAVIZ, PIO from headquarters. We appreciate our guests talking about all the things that the Indiana State Police Lab do, the great work that our forensic scientists, we can't thank them enough. They're behind the scenes, but they help us so much. So thank you, everybody, for tuning into the Roadshow. We will catch you next time.